You know, I'd like to get back now to about your mother. She was born in Henderson.
No, she was born in Brownsville, Tennessee.
Oh, Brownsville. Yes. And where did she live most of her adolescence, her young life?
In Jackson, Tennessee.
In Jackson.
Because the family moved away from Brownsville when he began to work, when the grandfather, her father, began to work for an insurance company, so they went to a larger town.
I see. How much education did your mother have?
She went through 8 years of school in Jackson and missed somebody's private something or other. And then she went to a young woman's seminary that had a 2-year course, also in Jackson. But it's not education as we understand it today.
Well, could have been called a junior college?
No, it was a seminary, a young ladies' seminary.
Did she have a large family? And your
Sisters and brothers?
Yes.
Yes. She had 3 brothers whom I knew and 2 sisters whom I knew very well, all of them. And one sister died before I was born. Little Nell died before I was born.
Did you go to Sunday school?
Oh, but of course.
What kind of Sunday school? Were there many Jewish families in a town like that?
I was the only Jewish child my age in the whole town. My brother's 4 years younger, and he had about, I think 4 or 5 people about his age, close enough to have a little group. And my sister's 4 years younger than he, and I think there were 7 or 8 people around her age specifically. But they had a temple in Brownsville too.
They did.
Oh yes, the Felsenthal, Sternberg, or Levi, L-E-V-I family, all were very good temple goers and all observed the holidays. Mother had to go to Sunday school.
Yeah.
Oh sure, she knew too much about it not to have had some formal education.
How old was she when she got married?
She was 22.
How did she meet her husband?
Well, the Jewish people in the little towns in the South socialized a lot, and this was not in the affluent, elegant part of the South. It was not New Orleans. It was not any of the coast places. This was Little River, Ohio River Valley people, Mississippi Valley people. But they were, many of them, of course, were traveling salesmen of one sort, and they'd go from town to town and naturally would go into stores that had Jewish names on them, and in that way meet the inhabitants of the other town. And before the Civil War, there was a great network of these people, and they visited back and forth. So as the young people came along, there were parties in one town or another town, and they all got to know each other. The Jews wanted their children to know Jewish people. So Mother was invited to visit a friend in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, and that young woman would come up to Jackson and visit her with all the young men and young women. They could get together for weekends and things. And then that young woman from Mississippi married a man from Henderson, Kentucky. So when she had established her home in Henderson with Uncle Mike, she invited Mother to come up and visit her. And Mother did. And she met all of the young men and women, 30, 40 of them. It's amazing how many Jewish people there were. But the few families had so many children, you see. So Mother met them all, and before you know it, she and Daddy decided to get married.
If you had to describe your mother, what kind of a woman would you say she was?
Oh, she was warm and loving and gay and fun and strict and demanding, very high standards on every single scale you can think of, about every single thing you can think of. If you were told to clean a room, that room had to really be clean, under the bed, the top of the shelves, the china, everything. If you were told to make a cake for whatever, that cake had to turn out right. If you were told to get down and study and really learn, you just had to do it. There weren't any two ways about it. But when it was time to play, it was all done in the same spirit, and she joined in. And of course, she showed how to do all these things, and once shown, that was the way you had to do it. But it was amazing that she could be so strict and so demanding, and at the same time, so much fun to be with. Marvelous sense of humor.
Was she an independent kind of woman?
In my eyes, she was. She always, as I got to be adult, she always told me that she felt very dependent, and that after my father died, she didn't think she was going to make it at all. I didn't perceive that. I didn't perceive it at all.